All right, so we're going to be looking at a very, very interesting component, and that is the LED. LED means light emitting diode. So, LED means light emitting diode. That's good to know. And LEDs come in various colors. There are so many different colors, but basically there's red, there's green, there's blue, and then there's the white ones you see in your rechargeable lamps or desktop reading lamps. Their role in the basic circuit is to convert energy possessed by the fast moving electrons into light energy. And we've already established that light energy is made up of photons. Photons are just like electrons, only that this time around they've now transcended from one state to another, and you see photons. Those electrons you see with your naked eye as light are actually photons. All right, LEDs have they have polarity. They are polarized, which means you can't just connect them anyhow in your circuit. You have to observe their polarity. They have the positive side, which is called the anode, and the negative side, which is called the cathode. This is an LED circuit symbol. You'll be seeing this a lot in circuits from now on. These were the common colors I was telling you about earlier on. There's red, green, blue, and then white. This is how an LED looks like internally. It is basically just it's actually a complex device, but it's actually simple in operation. It has an epoxy lens, which is the outer covering that you can touch. Then it has some other components inside. If you want to study more about LEDs, you can Google it and see if you want to learn how to build them. But one thing I really want to show you is the flat spot here. Most LEDs, in fact all the LEDs I've seen in my lifetime in electronics, they have this flat spot here. The flat spot almost always signifies the negative side or the cathode, because I have seen an LED where the flat spot, only one anyway. I've dealt with hundreds of LEDs, but only one time in all the years, just one that I've seen that was wrongly configured, and I'm sure that was a manufacturing defect. But just assume that this flat side is really negative terminal. In case you get an LED and you see that both terminals are of equal length, because if you look at all these ones here, they are on equal length. They are the terminals, the pins are, one is longer than the other. The longer one is positive, the shorter one is negative. But what if you don't see it this way? This is another technique to identify the polarity, and the flat spot signifies the negative pin. Next, you're going to be seeing a live tutorial of these LEDs. And in this live tutorial, you're going to be learning about their physical appearance, that's how they look like in real life. You're going to be learning about their polarity, and you're going to be learning how to test them with a digital multimeter. So let's see how much you can learn from this video. All right. So this is the live tutorial for the LED and the demonstration of how the LEDs behave. Here you're going to learn about the physical appearance of LEDs. You're also going to learn about LED polarity. You're going to see it in action. And then you're going to learn how to test LEDs with a digital multimeter. So I have a couple of LEDs on my table here. For example, this is a red LED, it emits red light, and it's a 5 mm LED. 5 mm means the diameter, that's from here to here is 5 mm diameter. This is another LED, it's a 3 mm LED. 3mm LED. It's white in color, but it does not emit white light. It emits it. You will see the light emits. It actually emits red light. This is an infrared LED. An infrared LED is just like it's exactly like a normal LED. It emits light, but just that the light it emits is within the infrared region. So we don't get to see it with our human eyes. The only way you can see an infrared light is one of the ways you can see infrared light is using your camera phone. This is another kind of LED. It's white outside and also emits white light. This is a very big LED. The light is much brighter, consumes more power and than all these small ones. This is another 3mm LED, but this time the outside is colored blue and it emits blue light. So this is another kind of LED. This is a 7-segment LED display. Why they call it 7-segment LED is because it actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 segments. Now it actually has, this one has 8, but many of them have 7. And each of these 7 segments is made up of LEDs. There are LEDs inside. If you look closely, you will see the LEDs inside. This one has multiple LEDs, so each of these segments can emit different kind of colors. All right, and there are pins here that you use in connecting the 7 segments to your circuit. This is another LED component, but is also an integrated LED component, just like the 7 segment. We call this the dot matrix LED. It's arranged in a matrix form, and each of these holes here has at least 3 different LEDs inside to emit different colors. And when you light this up, this is the building block of all those giant LED screens that you see outdoors that display videos and animations and pictures. So LEDs are very, very useful and they are everywhere. Right, so the next thing we're going to learn about is their polarity. LEDs are polarized. LEDs are polarized. Which means they have a positive side and they have a negative side. All LEDs have positive and negative, so you need to be able to know when you see an LED, you must be able to identify which of the pins is a positive and which one is negative, so that you can know how to test and connect it as well. All right, a general rule is most times, not all the time, but most times, like 98% of the time of all the years I've been using them, the positive pin is always the longest pin. The positive pin is always the longest pin, and the negative pin is always the shortest pin. Most of the time, not every time. Now, it applies to all of them. As you can see, they have longer leads and shorter lead. Longer one, that's the positive one, then the shorter one, the negative one. And the same thing applies here. Longer one, longer, shorter. So these ones are easy to decipher. I've seen an LED that has, okay, let me not bother you too much, but there are LEDs that the longer lead is negative. Probably that was an error, but I've seen one like that. Only once anyway. So that is how this is how they look like. And so now you know how to test to know their positive and negative lead. Next thing you know is how to test them, because when you go to the market, or when you get LEDs, and before you use an LED in your circuit, before you solder it, you must try as much as possible to test it. I always advise you test all your components, all the ones that can be tested. It is I advise you to always test your components before you use them. So well, we're going to learn how to test an LED now, and to do that, that's where you need this digital multimeter. This is a very straightforward instrument. It's not so complex, it's just very simple. It's currently in the off position. It can do many things. but we're going to use it to test LED now. So just follow the steps. And if you have one like this, what you are concerned about now is this particular point where you have the diode symbol. So you have to take this to that diode symbol, and then now you're ready to test the LEDs. So get a hold of the black and red probe, and then we can start testing. So start with this one. We will not test everything for sake of time. So to test, it's very simple. First of all, you spread the legs of the LED a little bit. Don't spread it too aggressively, or otherwise you can break the leg. And so you put, I already know this is my negative, this is my positive, based on this is the longest one. So I put the black lead on the negative. As soon as I put the positive, as soon as I put the red on the positive, I expect that this LED will light up. All right, so let's do that now. See, so it lights up. This means the LED works, and it means it is clear for takeoff. It is clear to be used in an actual circuit. All right, so I'm going to keep this aside. Let's test another one. This is a 3mm LED, and I think it emits red light. I'm not sure, so let us verify that. All right, it emits red light. It can be much more brighter than this, but the power from these probes is really small, so that's why they seem so faint. But they can be much brighter. They can blind your eyes when they come on directly at your eyes, but multimeter power is not so much. This light is kind of funny because I'm going to test it, but you are the only one that can see it on. I cannot see it on. So this is the positive. I don't know if it's going to come on. Let's see. Okay, this one is probably bad or something. This one is probably bad, but so that's for infrared LEDs. They don't show lights easily. They're very stubborn. All right, this is a blue LED. Blue, check. And then this giant one, I don't know if it's going to light up. I hope it does, because it consumes a lot of power. Oh, okay, we're lucky it did. So they're all working, and so that's for LEDs. Now you need to turn your multimeter back to the off position, because if you don't turn it off, it will be running down your battery.